Wow, an amazing welcome to all our audience. Please let me know on the chat if you can hear us loud and clear. Please let us know. We want to welcome you guys to our amazing conversation today, please. But I would need some feedback from you. If you can hear me, just let me know you can hear me. And I just want to get to know who is in the room with us. Great, great, great. Yes, I've got some feedback. So welcome everyone to today's session. We are going to be tackling an issue which is a very sensitive one. It touches on a lot of things, and we want to talk about breaking the silence, how I survived child sexual abuse. And today we have somebody who would be, sharing with us and talking with us, her own experience on how she was able to navigate child abuse, what she did in order to deal with child abuse. So I want to welcome you all. My name is Amara.
And my name is Gospel.
Yes, yeah. and together we co-host on Relationship Builders Forum. Now, this is a forum where we talk about love, we talk about sex, we talk about relationships. Basically, we have put this together in order to empower people to disseminate the right information and to help people elevate their relationship. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to add something before we invite our special guest today.
Yeah, I just want to say that, last week we were talking about how people can actually identify if they are in a toxic relationship or not. And if you move that to the next level, you would realize that sometimes toxic relationship could also affect parenting.
That's true.
Where the children in the relationship are going through stuff and their parents will not know.
Absolutely.
Because they are also dealing with their own negative issues, trying to manage their relationship. And when that happens, it impacts on the child. And one of the things that could affect someone's disposition towards marriage is childhood experience, past experience. So if you've gone through trauma, you've gone through emotional abuse, you've gone through sexual abuse, that could impact on the quality of your marriage. This is why we are bringing this wonderful person to the platform to share with us her experience. In fact, we need to encourage her because I don't know if I'm in her shoes. I'll be happy to share my story to the world. So what I will want you to do is, you're watching us and you're listening to this, share this link to your friends, share it to parents, to those who would find this content really, really helpful and useful.
Yeah. So I want to welcome all our viewers, and I can see some of them already joined in. Foundation for Family Affairs, is great to see you here. Much love, always chiming in every single time. I also want to welcome Victoria. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. Also, we've got, I think Jessica is here. So Jessica, you're welcome. We've got Dubaim. Dubaim is also here. Dubaim, you're welcome. Amola Show, you're also warmly welcome. So without further ado, and please, for those who are joining us on the chat, it will be great to see you guys engage. So please put your questions on the chat. Let us know, even if it's just a feedback, encourage our speaker for today. We want to make welcome a very special person, someone who, it's not been too long I met her, but I have been richly blessed by her ministry. And she is Pst Deborah. And I want to make her welcome. Please, Pst Deborah, you can come on board, introduce ourselves to your audience, and then we can start today's conversation. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. God bless you so much. First of all, I want to also greet the whole audience of this platform. May God bless you as you are coming in. And also, I really want to say a warm thank you to Dr. Gospel and Dr. Amara for inviting me onto this amazing platform. I'm truly humbled. I am Pst Deborah Seke-Ushindi, the wife of Pastor Josue Seke-Ushindi. We are together living in the UK, in Penistone, to be precise. We are EU. We've come from Netherlands, and where I am raised. I am a pastor within International Revival Assembly. together with my husband, and I'm also the founder of Inspired Woman Foundation, which is basically a calling from God that God put in my heart to help rebuild the lives of those who have been through traumatic experiences, such as myself. Once I was a victim, today I'm called a survivor. So I use my negative experience of the past positively by helping restore the lives of those who are still currently going through the aftermath of trauma. So other than that, I'm also a health professional. So I work full time. I have 4 children. I'm blessed with 4 biological children, 1 adopted daughter, and I am a mother to many all over the world. I think that's it. Thank you.
Wow, that's really, really impressive. You're a woman of many parts, and obviously you would tell us more about yourself when you carry on to talk about your experience. I think those in the audience would really want to know, because someone spoke to me and said, "Are you for real? Someone is coming to share her experience of child sexual
Yes.
abuse?" I say, "Yes." Can you
Yes.
tell us in a nutshell your story, if you don't mind me asking?
Of course I can. So this is why we put the topic of breaking the silence, because within our community, as you well know, Dr. Gospel, is that we have that as a taboo subject. People do not want to share their trauma because they are afraid of what comes with it. It comes with a lot of shame, and especially for a married woman like myself, a mother. My children's age is ranging from 19 years old. The oldest is 19. The youngest one is 8 years old. So sometimes they do watch what I do as well on TVs and everywhere that I go. They watch this, and you know, in our community, they want me to keep silence. They don't want my story to come out. I felt it is very important because the more I speak, the more people I am able to help. So this is the reason why I'm breaking the silence once again today. My story started. I was about 8 years old to start with in the Netherlands, and my parents, they were both asylum seekers at the time. We only just arrived to the Netherlands, and you know, my father was there a year before, brought us in, and we settled in nicely. After a few years, no, I mean a few months, things started to become very difficult. We were going to school and everything like any other normal child. At that point, uh, I've always, you know, my mom has always said to me that I grew up really fast because my parents, they made me grow up fast. In case that they get deported, I need to be able to look after my younger sister. Uh, at the time. So she was 2 years younger than me, and it was only the two of us. So my parents, my father was very hard on me, and he was preparing me for in case something goes wrong, in case they get reported and we get to stay, then I will know exactly what to do and how to look after my sister as long as we are together. So he was showing me how to go to school on my own with my younger sister at 8 years old. He will bring us halfway and he will watch me walk her to the school, walk her to her class, and everything. He will also not pick us up from school. He'll ask somebody, just a friend of him, to help us out of the school. Once we are out, we will come home and I'll make lunch for my sister. So I grew up very fast. So I was very conscious of what was going on. And my parents, they were very honest to me, telling me that we are asylum seekers. We don't have any documentation at this moment. The lawyers are still looking into our case. And obviously, because we came in later than my father, it sort of penalized the case as well. So now they were questioning, they needed proof as to how somebody leaves the country who they say were in danger and have a family there. So there was a lot of questions. Eventually, the government of the Netherlands decided to send a letter that they have refused our asylum and that we need to leave the country as soon as possible, or they will arrest us and then deport us. So we had nowhere to go basically. So my mother wasn't sure what to do. My parents weren't sure what to do. And one morning, the longer we left it, one morning we heard this banging on the door. My father looked through the window and saw police officers. And so he helped us through the balcony into our neighbor's balcony, and we stayed there for as long as possible. And once they left, through the night, he went back, got what he could get. We went into the car and we started driving. We were sleeping in the car. So my mom says, okay, I'm going to have to call for help. So she called my granddad and she told him the situation. And my grandfather says, well, your cousin, my uncle was my mother's cousin, but they were calling each other brothers and sisters because they were raised together. And says, you've got your cousin who has a very big house. You will never see each other. He is divorced. And so I think that's where you should go and he will look after you. I'm calling him now. So we went there and I met my uncle and I saw the life he had. You know, he was living very well and it was quite a big house, huge. He was living in another section and we were living in another section of the house, and we didn't really have to see each other at all. And after that, my parents decided to now start going back to Holland and start to look how to build the case again with the lawyer that we had, to try and see how we could come back to Holland and how they could accept our case. And because they had to do a lot of back and forths, they felt like I'm older. My younger sister is younger. She does not pay for the ticket. So they took her and they left me. And while I was left there, that's when the abuse started to happen. I looked up to my uncle. He was my role model. He was everything that I wanted to be in life because he was very successful. He had great businesses and he had a beautiful house, you know, and I was like, oh, this is the kind of life I want to have. So I was very close to him and I didn't feel like I should be afraid of him. I didn't feel like I was unsafe with him. So I continued to, you know, like play with my uncle. He will take me to the park and he will feed me. He will look after me. And the first time it happened, it was one morning I went for a shower. So I went for a shower in the bathroom. Didn't really close the door or anything like that. He was in the other side. So I closed the door but not locked it. That's what I mean. And so I started to have my shower and I started to dry myself in there. And my uncle came in and he asked me to perform sexual activities on him. I don't know how open I can be on this platform because it is YouTube. So I'm going to try and just, you know, say what as minimal as possible. So I was to perform sexual activities until he would, you know, it will satisfy him, let's say. And this is how it started. And then it built up into when my parents were leaving in the morning, him sneaking up into my bed. And, you know, so he followed me everywhere. I had no rest. I had no peace. Although I was a child, I felt like this is really wrong. And I was getting ready to tell my parents.
So Pastor Deborah,
Yeah.
sorry to cut you short. You were 8 at the time this was happening.
Yeah, at this time now I'm 9 years old. Yes. Yeah. And so I was really young.
Yeah.
So although I knew that this is my uncle, you know, as a child, there's something just doesn't feel right. Something did not feel right to me. And I started to like speak within myself, question things. Is this really what my uncle is supposed to do? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing with my uncle? Is this normal? And then the more I asked these questions, the more I withdrew within myself. And one day I sat my mom down and I wanted to tell my mom, and my uncle was in the corridor. And he looked at me really angry, and I stopped speaking directly. And then my mom was like, what is it now, Deborah? Just we're going through serious problems right now. I cannot have you disturb me for nothing and things like that. I says, I'm sorry, mom. So she carried on doing the house chores and everything. And that's when he said, oh, I'm taking Deborah to the park. uh, I wanted to refuse to go with him to the park, but I decided, let me just go. So I went to the park with him, and in the park he told me, "You know you are an asylum seeker in this country. Your father is an asylum seeker in this country. If you open your mouth, I will make sure that you go back to the Congo. I will make sure that your father gets into prison for the rest of their life. So your parents' future is now depending fully on you, on what you're gonna do next. And if I ask you to do something and you don't do it, I will ask your sister." And at that moment in time, my world, I just remember my world just collapsed. It collapsed. I felt, like really he was being very aggressive with me, the person that I love so much, the person that I look up to was so angry with me. And from that day, I decided never to open my mouth again and speak. So as I was growing up, I wasn't a child that would be loud. I would not speak. I didn't make no noise because I was always afraid that if I open my mouth and say the wrong thing, my parents will be deported and my father will be in prison because he said he can do that. He has the means to do that. And sometimes my parents will go and he will make me watch movies about the poorer side of the Congo. And he will show me how poverty is there and how difficult the situation is there. He will show me about the war sides of the Congo. And he will say, this is where you're going to go if you decide to speak to your mother about this, and I'll make sure that your father will go into prison. And he kept repeating this. So today I have people who ask me sometimes, well, Pastor Deborah, at that age you could speak to your parents, but you can't. I couldn't. How? It was a lot of weight to put on a child. Today, I understand that it was a lot to put on a child, and I understand that he was grooming me. But back then, I just felt bullied into not speaking, so I kept quiet, and I did everything he asked me to do. Whenever my parents will be at home, he will take me to the park, and we will go into the forest. I will never see a swing or a slide. I will never see that. We will go into the forest and I'll perform sexual activities on him there. So that was my life for 2 years. It was non-stop. I was living in this. So I stopped eating. Sometimes I wasn't eating well. I was how do you say it? Very withdrawn from my parents, from any member of my family. Sometimes my mom will say, "I'll drop you off with my other cousin, my other auntie, who has children your age to play with you. I will go there, but I will not play." And I remember having this neighbor, and this neighbor was that my uncle had this neighbor, and this neighbor was very concerned. And she started asking me questions like, "Why are you so quiet all the time?" She was a white woman in Belgium. She says, "Why are you always so quiet? And why don't you play with children your own age? I always see you all the time with your uncle, never with your parents. Why is that?" She started asking me questions. And the more she asked me, the more I kept quiet, because I was like, if I tell her, she'll tell my parents, and we will end up in a really bad place. So I would say everything's okay. And she started to invite me to play with her daughter and to eat at her house. And she would ask my uncle. My uncle mostly would refuse. But if I go to her sneakily, when I come back, he will get very angry with me. Sometimes he'll spank me, really angry with me. And he'll say, if you tell your parents, you will see what I'll do to you, and things like that. So I felt very much bullied by him. And that lady became like my safe haven, where I felt like every time I go to her house, I feel some kind of safety there. But then again, I have to return to this person who's going to want to all kinds of things done to him again, you know? So this is like how I lived. And we stayed with my uncle for about 2 years until we heard from the Netherlands. And I remember one morning when my father came back and says, we're going back to the Netherlands. And I was just so relieved. And I felt like, oh my God, you know, I get to go back to the Netherlands. I don't know if you want me to continue to tell you like after how it happened in the Netherlands, or if anybody has a question at this point.
Yeah, I think you've said a lot, and from my own point of view, some of the things you've said, they are so touchy, and I think the audience, our audience as well, they can relate with that. Do you want to share some of the things our audience
I mean,
put in the comment?
So I mean, a lot of it is being sad, and I want to first of all say thank you, Pastor Deborah. You know, it takes a lot of courage, you know, to do this. People saying, wow, some people can't even believe the age that you had to go through this. And, you know, because sometimes people kind of don't feel that children that age would need to experience this sort of pain that you experienced. And, you know, it came in so strong that, you know, one of the audience said, I'm so sorry, you know, yes, she's not the cause, but, you know, she feels how much you had to go through. And the fact that, you know, somebody's saying she feels so overwhelmed. Another person is saying, I can relate to this, you know, and it takes a lot of courage to do this. So thank you for sharing this, especially now that, you know, a lot of things are being said, and it kind of speaks to the fact that this is not new. You know.
Yeah, that's a key point. And from what you've said, I think the key thing I want anyone listening to take home from this is that the perpetrator will always use fear, will use shame, guilt, and all of those negative emotions to weigh on the child. So sometimes you're saying, why is this child not saying anything?
Yeah.
Why did it happen and you didn't speak up? Because you're taking responsibility for protecting your family. And that brings me to the question I want to ask you before you move on to the next phase. Did your parents at any point identify issues going around your life? Maybe as caregivers, they have a responsibility to safeguard you. Did they at any point observe that something is not right and then try to understand what was happening in your life?
At that time, I didn't see much of my parents because they were back and forth all the time. But I don't know if my mom maybe at some point saw something, or I don't know, because I remember one day when I was coming from the bathroom after, you know, my uncle sneaked in again, and so I was wearing my mom's wrapper. I used to wear my mom's wrapper a lot if she's not home, to make myself feel safe. And so his, you know, his sperm basically was on the wrapper, and I didn't even know as I walked out. And so I gave it to my mom to wash, and my mom was like, why in God's name, Deborah, did you spill milk on this? And then she put it in the washing machine. So I don't think they've ever questioned anything, because I know for a fact that my parents, they loved me a lot. Me and my sister were everything to them. And I know that they will never leave us with somebody that they didn't trust. So this will be another advice to most parents. You know, my parents were in a vulnerable position. This is why my uncle took advantage, because they were in a very disadvantaged position. If my parents had documentation, I do not think that he would even dare or try, because I would tell straight away, because I had nothing to protect them. But because of the position my parents were in, and then at the same time trusting a man to look after your daughter, that was a mistake. Going back on it now, that was a mistake. But then again, when you look at it, it's a family member, it's somebody that they grew up with. My mother grew up in the same house as that my uncle. When I say my granddad was actually my uncle's dad, because my mother's parents died really young when my mom was really young, and her uncle raised her, and she's fine. She's never been abused by him, nothing. And he had 3 wives, and he looked after her very well. So they grew up in the same house. So they call each other brothers and sisters. They don't say this is my cousin. When they introduced my uncle to me, it was this is my brother. It is later on that I found out about the family dynamics and everything, that they were actually just related, they were cousins, but because they grew up together, they were very close. And in that closeness, I believe that my mom trusted him enough to actually potentially, maybe if they get deported or something, to raise both of us. And because he saw that vulnerable position that they were in, he decided to use that against them. And I think that's what it is. Like, when you are in a disadvantaged position, or you're going through poverty or through difficult times as a parent, you have to really be checking your daughter a lot. Check your daughter's body parts, like when you're bathing her, make sure that everything is all right with her, and try to have more alone times with your children. That's the advice that I could give to any parents, as much as possible, because I grew up, like I said, as I was growing up, I was like a very young adult. I was very much together. I could make my own food. I was raised to look after my younger sister. I was literally programmed in that way, because my father always said to me that if anything happens to me or your mother, it is you who's looking after your sister. She is your responsibility. So at the same time, my parents, they put this responsibility on me, which is weighing on me as a child, because I can't be a child. I'm having to be an adult. And then again, my uncle then putting something else on me, and saying that your parents say safety is all on you. So I was like, I don't even know what to call it anymore. I don't even know what to call it. I was very tired, and I grew up feeling tired all the time. And it wasn't because I was sick that I was tired all the time. It was because of all the things in my head. It was just too much. And yeah, I don't think they did it on purpose, because that was the situation. And I think as parents, when you do that to your children as well, you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful. So I hope I've answered your question on that one.
Yeah, you've done that. Just to highlight some of the comments, some people said, your parents trusted your uncle, not knowing that, he wasn't what he portrayed that he is. And another comment that's kind of very striking here, and that's by Dr. Beryl. She says, many parents need training on how to be parents, not just what they have learned from their parents. Because a lot of times, if not careful, if we're not intentional about our parenting, we just kind of go into a default mode of replicating how we have been parented, or how we have been raised with our own children. Yeah. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Pastor Deborah.
Yeah, that is, I would say that is true. But then again, when we look at we're different, we're worlds apart. When I go back to my own parents, they were coming straight from Africa. And in the Africa, particularly where I am from the Congo, family look after family. That's how it is. You will see somebody. You will see somebody going into marriage and bringing their one of their sisters or one of their brothers to help them raise their children. So I'm different in my parenting because of what I've been through.
Yeah.
But most of the times, later on, you will find that those parents from you know the way they've been raised and the culture they know, they will pass it on to their children now. This is why child abuse is still occurring up to now, because even though we are still living in either European country or America or anywhere else, we still feel that those skills are the good skills. This is how we're supposed to raise our children to be able to do certain things at certain age. We feel like a 16-year-old should be able to run the house. A 10-year-old needs to know how to cook. This is how we've, you know, how our parents have raised me, for example, like to become independent much quicker. And most parents, they do that. And I think they need yes, what Dr. Barrett is saying is very true. It comes down to education, but where do we start with this education? Because this is something that has been passed on for generations to generations to generations. And you know, and this is one of the reasons why I always say I will keep breaking the silence now. I'll keep speaking about this, although there's a lot of pastors out there who call my husband who called my husband to tell him how bad of a husband he is for letting me say these things that I'm saying, and how much ashamed he should be of marrying a woman like me. But you know, but I will never stop, because you know, at least there is one generation that is getting to know about this. Today, me speaking about this, it will be a certain class of people, a certain generation that is going to hear this and probably possibly want to change their parental skills because of what they've heard today. So I can't fault our parents for what they did. But then at the same time, where do we start from education? Do we go back to Africa and start there, or you know, and then bring it back here, or do we just start from what we're doing right now here? So it's a lot. It's yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to learn. Yes, our culture is beautiful. Africa is beautiful. I love the community. I love, you know, what you described, you know, that sort of openness and sharing and brotherhood and sisterhood.
Yeah.
It's an amazing culture. But I think there are a few excesses. There are extremes. Like you just said something about trusting, you know, your daughter with a man, you know, and this kind of speaks to what Minister Rose is saying on the chat. She's saying some of our African parents really trust their families too much. So I feel that there should be some boundaries.
Yeah. Apart from the boundaries,
definitely
trusting someone with your child does not negate the fact that you're still the parent. So you have some responsibilities to do or to protect your child. Safeguarding is one of those things. I think in this context, one of the things parents need to know or learn is how to identify if your child is going through abuse. It might not be sexual abuse, it could be emotional abuse, it could be bullying, you know. So parents need to know, because parenting is not by default. It requires knowledge. It requires it being intentional, just like Family Affairs, Foundation for Family Affairs have just said. It needs you to be intentional as a parent. And I say to parents, if you're not ready to have a child, if you're not ready to take on the responsibility that comes with having a child, grooming a child, raising that child to be the next, will I say, the successful person in the future, don't go into marriage. Don't even think about having a child, because it's a calling, it's a responsibility. I think I cut you short there when you were trying to talk about the next phase of your story.
Mhm.
We have a lot of questions to ask you, and I would say to our audience, put your questions on the comment section because she will be happy to answer those questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the points that resonate with you, you can also share your feedback. Please tell us more. What happened when you moved over?
So when we moved back, everybody was happy. You know, they gave us a house, a place to stay. You know, I was happy that that was the disconnection between myself and my uncle, because now he's in a different country, I'm in a different country. I felt kind of safe at that moment in time. So, you know, we just continued where we left off, carried on with our lives and things like that. I remember when we came back, there was a day that my mother found blood in my underwear. But she didn't really, you know, think much of it. Maybe she thought maybe it was a cut or something like that. Didn't investigate too much. And we just carried on. She asked me a few questions like, has anybody ever touched you down below? No. Has anybody ever done anything, your dad or anybody touched you down below? No, nobody touched me down below. Okay, go to school, you're all right then. It must just be a cut. So then I carried on. But then later on, that's when the problem started. Later on, as I became, I think from the age of 14 onwards, that's when the problems really started. Because that age now, I'm getting to understand that what happened to me is not normal. I'm getting to understand that I felt like the sacrificial lamb. I was angry. I became frustrated. I wasn't listening much to anybody. So I got beaten a lot because I wasn't listening too much. I wanted to do what I wanted to do at that time. And I was acting out, uh, although still not speaking out, still not talking much. But I met the wrong people. I met the wrong crowd, and I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. And um, and these people, they were older men, older women, and they were all into making money. And you know, we didn't have exactly a great life, so I got into that as well, into making money. And they used me a lot, to send doing certain stuff that I can't speak here on social media. So I got into doing a lot of things. And I remember there was two prostitutes that I met, and these were like my big sisters. They were quite young as well, and they came from the same situation of abuse, and they became like my family. And I would only listen to them, and they're the ones that helped me out of that situation, because they started to advise me. This point, I'm 16, 17. They started to advise me. I can't mention their name here because I've not got that consent. But they basically saved my life. They saved me from getting into prison. They saved me from maybe you know having an illness or going deeper into prostitution, because they stopped that by saying to me that if you promise to go to school, we will look after you.
Wow.
And this is where I said to them, like, you don't know me. You're not my family. You're not my mother. You're not my big sister. You're nothing to me. Why do you think that I will listen to you? They says, well, you have got to. Because where you're going, we are there. And it's dangerous. You will die, or you will go to prison, or worse. Die. So listen to us, what we're telling you. And then at the same time, I'm thinking here, these are two people that I'm working with. They're giving me advice, but how can they be advising me and still be continuing doing the same thing themselves? So this was all going through my head, and I was a very angry, frustrated person. Angry, very angry. And I would lash out to them at some point, disrespect them even, although they were older than me, much older than me. And they carried on. They never stopped working on me. And eventually I was so annoyed. I says, you know what? I'm leaving this. I'm leaving you guys. And okay, I'll get myself into school. And they said to me, if you get yourself into school, into college, anything you need, you don't need a man to pay anything for you. We will support you financially. And they did that. They used to pay for my makeup, they used to pay for my hair, they used to pay for my nails, they used to pay for everything, anything that I needed, clothing, food, anything that I needed. They would just give it to me, and they would give me any amount of money, and I will not question where that money is coming from. I will just take it and go to school like they said. And in return for that, I had to show them all my reports so that they know that I'm going regularly, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So that kind of helped me, but it didn't stop the drinking though. It didn't stop the drinking, and it didn't stop the experimenting with other substances. Because the reason for the drinking was, when I'm drunk, you don't feel the things, that the pain, the flashbacks, the things that the nightmares, because I was having nightmares all the time. I wasn't sleeping well as a child, as a younger person. And because of this, things just got, spiraled out of control. And with me not being able to sleep, I will drink so that I can sleep. I will use other substances so that I can forget. But the problem here is that forgetfulness is only temporarily. When you're under the influence, it's working. But once you wake up, you have a hangover, a headache, you pass all that, you're back to square one. You're back to feeling again. You are back to dreaming, and you're back to the nightmares. You're back to everything again. So I was battling with all of that a lot. I didn't know how to seek help for that, because again, I wasn't sharing with anyone. My parents became tired of me. My father became tired of beating me, grounding me, telling me not to go out, telling me not to stay out, telling me not to sleep outside, looking for me, trying to find me, and things like that. He got tired. And my mom got tired of advising me as well. But I do know, because my father started suffering from lung cancer. And that was like a time that I stayed at home more, because I was like, he's gonna die. And my father wasn't a lovey type of person like who my husband now is. He'll tell my kids, I love you 20 times, 30 times a day. Sometimes my daughter will say to him, you've already said that to me, Dad. And he's like, oh yeah, I love you more. Even for her questioning that. But my father wasn't like this. Never heard the word I love you. Never had a hug from the man. He was a very strong man. He was the provider. He brought in the money. He's the man, the responsible man. So that's all we've known. There was no I love yous, no anything. But when he had lung cancer, that was the first time that my father said to me that he loved me.
Wow.
And again, I was put in another position again there, because when I used to take him for his chemo, when they were telling him that he was dying, I had to translate that message to him in the Netherlands. So his doctor told me to tell him that he's dying. Now that made it even worse, because I had already other demons. So I told him that he was dying. And for telling him that, I don't know, it just, I didn't feel good about telling somebody that they're gonna die. At 17 years old, it just wasn't the right thing. I didn't feel I was the right person to tell them that. And seeing the man break, the strongest man break down and in tears, that was too much.
Yeah.
So when we got home, he says to me, Deborah, I love you, for the first time. And he said to me, you know what you can do for me? This is what you can do for me. if ever you just enter the doors of university, he says to me, just gain admissions. You don't even have to finish it. Oh, this is how he said it. You don't have to finish the course, but just enter the building, huh? Admission paper with your name on it. I'm proud of you.
Oh,
That's all he said. That's what he said to me. Then just know that I'm already proud of you. And this man was dying and he said this and he hugged me. And now this became my mission to make it in life.
wow.
But I went back to looking for other ways of making money. I went back to, I was very crafty. Although I didn't go to the same group, but I had another group of people that I met who were making money in a different way. So I started there as well. But this was my boyfriend, yeah. So he was the one that really like he was taking the most risks. So I was earning less, but it was still a lot for somebody my age, coming home with 5,000. 4,000. Back then it wasn't euros, it was gulden. That was a lot of money, and I hid it well. So then my father dies. When he dies, I feel like, oh, this is great now. This is freedom. I started clubbing. I started, everything that you can imagine, I did. And again, I met my sisters again, shouting at me, telling me things. And I says, I'm not that kind of person. I don't want to do this. You guys don't understand what I feel like. You don't understand what I'm living with. And they said, we do. And this is when they decided to tell me their story and why they run away from home. It was their case was their father that was abusing them. And this is why they run away from home at a very young age and got into prostitution. And they said they are in so deep that they wished somebody would tell them how to get out. And they are trying to help me not to get too deep and meet the wrong person who's going to cage me and keep me for life. And they told me just to stay away. And they will give me the money, but just stay away. They're like, what is your problem? We are giving you the money. We are paying everything. Why you keep coming back? And yeah, and that finally there, I listened and I started staying away. I got myself a job in Lidl, in Lidl and KFC. So I started working as well as going to school. And because my father died, so I'm now the provider. I'm looking after the entire family now. My mom goes into the deepest depression ever because she's never looked after anyone, done anything, paid any bills. He used to do all the administration, all the financial side of things. So she's lost now. She can't drive. She can't do anything. So I had to step up. I started driving without license, everything. I had to look after them. So I left school. So I was looking after the entire family again until I met my husband. So I don't know if you want me to carry on with the marriage stage.
Yeah, I think you've said a lot, and to leave you to keep talking. I'm sure you have so much to say, and we also have so many questions to ask, and I'm not sure we'll have enough time to ask you different questions, But there's a question on the chat. Don't know if you want to share that.
Dr. Berry is asking, please, could you share with us the signs to know that a child is experiencing sexual abuse? I know you spoke on a couple of things, but if you want to shed a bit more light on that, or shed more light on that, please do.
When you see a child acting a different way to normal, that is a very big sign. It's different with every child. Because now I'm working with different people, I see different types of sign. For me, it was I withdrew within myself. I made my own world. So because I wasn't speaking, I was always quiet. And, parents applauded that. She's the quietest child. She's easy. She doesn't say much. She doesn't disturb. She doesn't make too much noise. She's not, she's not making any trouble. She's just quiet all the time. That is a big sign. That is a big red sign there that you need to sit that child down, dig deeper, and try and find out what is going on in that head. Why is that child so quiet? When you see the child hiding things, being sneaky about things all the time, lying, with other children, it could be causing troubles, fighting, getting into fights. Later on, it could be alcohol abuse, the substances. You want to dig deeper into finding out why is this child behaving, anything that is changing the behavior of that child from normal to what it is at that moment in time. You want to ask questions. For me now, because of what I've been through, if I know a child who used to be quiet and becomes very loud, I want to know why. If I see a child who was very loud and now becomes quiet, I want to know why. If they are fighting all the time, they're angry all the time, I want to know why they are angry. So it's all about, the behavioral signs, anything that you see that is different. There could also be physical signs, such as when you see something that looks like milk on a piece of clothing, or you see somebody, stain of blood. Investigate it further. So I think those are the signs, mainly behavioral signs. Not eating properly, those are the things I want to know why. You want to dig deeper and find out why. If it's just a case of the child doesn't eat much normally, that's fine. But if the child normally eats a lot, and now they've completely stopped eating, I would want to know why. Weight loss, because I lost a lot of weight. So why am I losing all this weight? So those are all the signs that I could give. Yeah.
I mean, that's quite exhaustive. I mean, you've actually touched on a lot of things. But another thing I really want us to touch on, and please, the audience have put in a lot of comments, but I'll get to that in a moment. And some people have even joined in, is this particular question that one of our audience have asked. And that's around, how were you able to handle the memories from getting to you? How did you heal from the trauma?
So in a nutshell, she's asking, how did you survive?
Exactly.
Right. Jesus Christ. For me, Jesus was the only way. I tried to commit suicide twice. First time was after the death of my father. That's when I tried to kill myself by taking a lot of different substances and medication and alcohol all mixed up. Ended up in hospital because my mom got there early enough to call the hospital. The second time I was already married. So I'm married with this trauma. When I met my husband and he proposed to me, because I met my husband in October and married in December that same year. He finished everything because he was already a pastor. He had a church. So he didn't want that boyfriend, girlfriend type of thing. He knew what he knew, and God showed him, I am his wife, and he knew that he wanted to marry me. And I have all the things in a woman that he wanted, apparent according to him at the time. But at that same time, I was asking him, why do you keep following me so much, Pastor? Why do you keep asking me all these things? Because do you know who I am? Ask questions, try and find out from the environment, who's Deborah? Because everybody knows. It's not like it's a secret. So try and find out who I hang out with, who my friends are, and who I am as a person. I am not a born-again Christian. And he said, God would never give me something that is spoiled or that is bad. And God showed me you, so you're my wife. And that was quite like, are you from another planet or something, And then I walked away again. And then we got sent back to their church because my mom made us go to church, regardless of what we feel like we're going. And we got invited back to that church again. And at that time, he asked me to marry him again. And I says, okay, see this, you not listening to me. You don't think I'm a bad person. I will take you to the house of one of my aunties, you know, speak to my auntie and see if she can speak in any sense to you. I took her there. That auntie, instead of speaking sense into this pastor, no, she's like, oh, she's a good girl, marry her and everything. So to cut a long story short, she messed the thing up because I wanted to get rid of this man and I can't get rid of him. And then for some reason, you know, I says, okay, fine. I was young back then. I didn't really care much about myself. I didn't really care much about what was going to happen, what my future would look like. So I was like, okay, fine, you're not bad looking. I'll marry you. So little did I know that he was ready. I thought it was something like getting to know each other and things like that. No. And straight away, he started the ball rolling, the process. He gave me a letter. I took it to my parents. Then the next thing I know, the bride price is getting paid. And the next thing I know, I'm married and I'm with this pastor. So I tried to live that life of born again Christian. I tried my best to live that life of being a pastor's wife. I tried to correct myself and behave into a certain way, not to mess his life up. So this became like a job to behave like how pastors' wives should behave, although I didn't dress like I was supposed to or said the things that I was supposed to say, because you know the women in church always found something wrong with me for some reason, but I tried. And with the third child, after giving birth, I started having the flashbacks again. Now I'm going into deeper depression. And I got in so deep that I felt like I'm in a very dark hole and I can't dig myself out of it. So one day I'm walking, I'm taking my children to school. And as I'm walking that path to the nursery and to the school, because my baby was in nursery and other ones were in school, and then I had to go to work. My husband was already at work. As I dropped them off, I was thinking within myself, I'm very tired. And I'm very, very tired. I felt so tired that day. And I said, you know, what can I do about this tiredness? I've tried every vitamin, supplements. I'm just tired of life. It's not that I'm tired physically, but I'm tired of living. So I says, you know, I could possibly just end my life. And I dropped them off. And the minute I thought that I could end my life, there was a relief. I felt relieved. And I felt like really comfortable with that decision. And as I was walking back, because I felt so comfortable with the decision I had made, I started feeling better about myself. So once I arrived home, back then I was on a lot of different medications for pain, back pains, and all kinds of things. I took everything. I bought a bottle of alcohol and I took a whole cocktail of different medications and I drank the alcohol and then went to sleep. And my husband says, this is his side of things, his testimony. He says that at work, he felt really sick. He felt very sick. He started vomiting. He wasn't well. So they sent him home. As he came home, he knew that I had to go to, because I was a catering assistant within a hospital. I did afternoon shifts. So as he came home, he found like, why is she home? Because you're supposed to be at work right now. So he's trying to wake me up and he knows he can't wake me up. So he goes downstairs thinking that I'm just sleeping. So he makes a sandwich. As he's about to throw the sandwich in the bin, he opens the bin and he sees a lot of empty strips of medication. So he digs it all out. He was like, did she take all that? So he panicked. He's not a health professional or medical body. He panics. He calls the police and he calls an ambulance at the same time. So police arrive, trying to get me to wake up. Ambulance man comes. At this point, I'm completely unconscious. This is what he's telling me. They took you to hospital, and I went to get the kids. Once I got the kids, when he came into hospital, I was already awake. I had a mental health nurse at the end of my bed at the hospital where I live. And the mental health nurse was speaking to me. Why did you try to kill yourself? You know, is there, you know, the questions that the routine questions. I was like, I can't right now. You have to come back another time. And then I feel like, why am I awake? Why
Oh,
did
wow.
this not work? Yeah. It's not like I felt remorseful that I did this to my family, to my children, to my husband. What is he going to say? There was nothing like that. There was more of, why am I still here? Why did this not work this time? And when he came into the room, he said to me, he says, Deborah, I know that you this happened to you, and I'm really angry that this happened to you in life. And I wish I could take away every pain that you feel, but I cannot, because I'm only human. But I know somebody who can, and that is Jesus Christ. Either you accept him today as your Lord and as your Savior, and you choose to live, because right now your uncle is in control of your entire life, and you've let him control most of your life. Now you make a decision to take back control of your life through Jesus Christ. Make something out of yourself. Make a success story out of yourself. Let him hear your name. And,
Wow.
and as he said that, you know, I decided that day that I'm gonna accept Jesus. And he said to me, I love you, and our children, they love you, and we need you. And this is where everything came back to me, like, what I've done now is really wrong. And I accepted Jesus on that hospital bed. And when I walked out of the hospital, I made a choice to take back control. However, taking back control of your life through Jesus Christ is a process. I have to tell for the viewers now, because people will say that the minute that I accepted back Jesus, I was healed straight away. No, I wasn't healed straight away, and I wasn't restored straight away. It was a whole process, and a very painful process, because I had to allow myself to relieve all these things. I had to allow myself to stay sober most of the time, not to drink alcohol. I had to allow myself to become that victim in order for me to have some kind of resolution on this. Yeah, I had to forgive my uncle. You know, many say forgiveness is about is you're letting that person go, but it's not. It's you taking back your life into your own hands. When you haven't forgiven, you will become bitter, you will become angry, you will become frustrated, because you are holding on to something really negative and dark and awful. And the longer you hold on to that, the more it is destroying you as a person on the inside, the more it is blocking your destiny. And God probably does not see you from where you are. He's taking you somewhere else. Your destiny must have been that great that the devil wanted to destroy your life. So when you forgive, you let go of the anger, you let go of the bitterness, and this is where Jesus now can perfectly take place within his temple, and that's where you start to heal. So you start to heal. I actually called my uncle, and I actually said to him that I forgive him. And after that, he had a stroke, and now he doesn't know where he is. He lives in a care home and things like that. But I forgave him before that happened to him. I forgave him, and I let go of the anger. I let go of the frustration. I let go of everything. And the first thing that I noticed was that I could sleep without nightmares. I was able to sleep and not have any flashbacks, any dreams about my past. So I started to kind of forget a little bit. And this is where I started to look to love myself again. Yeah, because my husband could say to me 10 times, 10,000 times that you are beautiful, I love you, you are beautiful. And that became his routine every day. For some reason, the man is not even a counselor, but he'll wake up and he'll say to me straight away, I love you, you're beautiful. And I've not got any makeup or hair on, and he's saying to me already, you are beautiful. So you know, the more I tried to reject him, the more he came towards me and showed me love and compassion. He was very patient with me. And with him doing all those things, that also that also contributed to that healing process. So it is Jesus that helped me become a survivor today, but it was a process.
Absolutely.
Wow. I'm short of words to all the things you've said, because I can't imagine being in that experience. And I know for sure that because you allowed yourself to go through the process of healing, that's why it happened. There has to be a choice. There has to be a decision to engage in the process of healing. And that's what you're saying. And one of the things you need to do is to let go of the perpetrator so that you can regain your life, you can regain your power, your self-confidence and self-image.
Yes.
I also want to say to our audience, maybe if someone is out there listening and her story resonates with you, maybe you've gone through child sexual abuse growing up and you know that you've not healed, you're not healed yet, you've not let go, and you're thinking, am I lovable? Am I valuable? How does God see me? Because you don't see yourself that way. We want to assure you that God does not see you in the light of your experience. Absolutely. Because God sees you lovable, he sees you competent, and he sees you valuable. And the devil wants you to always see yourself in the eyes or with the perspective of your past. But your past is your past. It does not define who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor Deborah, for sharing all of it. I know you have a lot to say. You have a lot to say. I wish we have all the time to share some of the things you have in your heart to say. We are so passionate about what you're saying, and we really want parents out there to learn how to help their children. Yeah. It might not be sexual abuse, but if a child is going through certain life challenges, you need to help that child. And there is something else you said. For those of us that are married and your wife is going through a phase, it could be loss of job, it could be emotional phase, it could be midlife crisis, it could be different things. You have to be patient. You have to be supportive,
and love her through
love her, because God wants to share love. God wants to change your wife or your husband. God wants to help that person, but he has to use a human being.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And you are that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. A lot has been said, and thank you, Pastor Deborah. Even our audience as well has echoed quite a lot about this in terms of every parent need to be educated. I don't know how to say this. I don't know why this is so important, that we need to educate ourselves. We cannot feign ignorance. We cannot feign whatever it is, excuse. We need to educate ourselves on abuse. We need to be, aware. We need to be able to identify the signs when we see them. And this needs to start from our homes, our church, our communities, our halls, our schools, and every system whatsoever. Okay, so really important. And something else she shared, she said, sadly, sexual abuse is happening everywhere and it needs to be stopped. Thank you for shedding light on this. Thank you for adding your voice and breaking the silence. Okay, and I hope many more people would also see the need to do this. And you've got lots of people saying, God bless your husband, because he was the medium through which God used to restore you. And God bless him.
And we are saying God bless him.
God bless him. Yeah, God bless him. Somebody also said that God doesn't see us in the light of our past. So it is important. And some of our audience are asking, how can we connect with you? How can they get to meet you? Because you have said something so profound, and it will be important for people who their story resonates with yours to be able to find you, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
You tell us where to find you, and I can also put the information on this particular channel information below, and you can gain access to Pastor Deborah.
Yeah, before we do that, I know you have, maybe there is something you really, really
burning in your heart you just want to drop before we wrap up, because we've actually exceeded our time frame.
Yeah.
Can you just share with the audience, please?
Any last words?
All I would say is I just want to quickly read a verse with somebody out there who's going through a difficult time. Obviously, not everything has been able to say. By the grace of God, I may write a book soon, and maybe all the information will be in there to help somebody else restore. But to those who probably gonna even watch this video later on, this is what I want to say to you. In Psalm 147, verse 3, the Bible says he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. God is the one that restores the brokenhearted, and he heals all wounds. As much as you can look at yourself right now, like I felt like I was damaged goods, unworthy of marriage, unworthy of any good thing that the world has to give. But I want to tell you that Jesus does not see you in that way. When Jesus looks at you, he doesn't look at you as ugly, as something that carries shame, as something that is damaged. God does not see that. God only sees you and what his plan was for your life. Like in the book of Jeremiah 29, the Bible says his plans were always of good to prosper, but never plans of evil were made for you by God himself. So as you came into this world, God did not see you as something ugly, as something that is unworthy. Wherever you are putting the word unworthy, God is putting the word worthy. What I want to say to you right now, be empowered to stand back up. After every storm, there is silence, and after every rain, the sun comes back up. I know it's going to be a difficult process, having been through it myself, but I know that there is light at the end of that very dark tunnel. Just accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior today as you are watching me, and let him start to change and transform you little by little. So God bless you, and thank you again, Dr. Gospel and Amara, for inviting me. In terms of finding me through the Marriage Foundation, through Dr. Amara, you can find me. Easiest access would be her. If you call her, she has all my details, all my numbers. I'm also on YouTube, where I do empowerment sessions under Inspired Woman Foundation every Thursday at 9 p.m., where we empower people. We talk about all kinds of things to do with abuse. If you want to join, we also have a WhatsApp group where it's all about prayers on restoration. We are also on Facebook under Pst Deborah Seke-Ushindi. But your easiest contact would be to Dr. Amara, Dr. Gospel. They will help you find me. So thank you so much. Thank you again. I'm truly humbled.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Pst Deborah. It's been an amazing time. And I don't know if our audience would want to show you some love. Some people are saying, indeed, awesome. And so many people are just raving about you on the chat. Please, guys, show her some love. I would say you have taken a bold step to come on today and just share your story. We don't take it for granted. And please, if you're new here, this is Relationship Builders Forum. This is what we do. We know that there are voices out there, and what we do is we use this platform to talk about, issues, pressing, pertinent issues that touch on relationship, marriage. And today we had Pst Deborah grace this platform. So please subscribe to our channel so you can get notification from time to time when we've got events coming up. We try as much as possible every week to have a live event. If not, then we put out a content. Okay, so please feel free to engage with everything that we've got. I don't know if you have any final words.
Well, my final word is, as a parent, remember, God has given you a life. God has given you a responsibility. It is your responsibility to nurture that life, because obviously, if anything happens, you will be asked, where is your child? So my point is, do your best, and, God will settle the rest.
Thank you. Amazing. So I want to say, until Next week, it's goodbye from us. Thank you for joining in.
Bye-bye.